Hi everyone, welcome. FPL Matt Day here, and this is the live Game Week 31 deadline stream. We're about 44 minutes until the deadline. Another massive game week ahead. We've got an early kickoff, plenty of fixtures to discuss in preparation for next week's blank game week as well. So transfers are really crucial this week. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and get your comments in as well. This deadline stream is mainly aimed for Q&A prior to deadline. So any questions, any transfer headaches, captain headaches, anything you've got, get those questions in now. I'll be going through the fixtures, my score predictions, my favorite FPL picks from each fixture, as well as captains and differentials. But I'm going to take the questions as we go this week because we are so close to deadline. I want to make sure everyone's questions get answered. So get them in the comments. Come in and say hello as well. We might have a couple of guests coming on as well during this live stream. So they might pop on at some point before the deadline, which is now 43 minutes away. So don't forget to make your transfers. Let's bring up some comments before I start going into the fixtures. So we are Liverpool. Welcome to the stream, mate. I hope you're well. And he's coming in. He said he's replaced Sterling and transferred in Saka for game week 31, which I think is a good move because Sterling and Chelsea, they've not been scoring goals of late. And Saka at West Ham away is a good fixture. And they also play in game week 32. So that's a really good move, mate. And best of luck. The wrestling film is in the stream. So welcome to the stream, mate. Hope you're doing well. Let me know if you got any questions for this week, and let me know how your team's looking, mate. All good this end, mate. I think last week when you were in the stream, I was feeling a bit ill, but this week, feeling a lot better, mate. And we should have a couple of guests as well coming on very shortly, hopefully. And Ahmad, welcome to the stream, mate. Hope you are well as well. And if anyone who's just tuned in does have any questions for the deadline, get them in now because I'm going to go through the questions as I'm doing the stream because we are so close to deadline now. So I'll share the screen. I can see a question has just come in, so I will bring that up in a second. These are this week's fixtures. You can see the early game is Aston Villa, Newcastle. But let's bring up the first question of tonight. And are Dalot and Alisson going to start? I think Alisson will start. I don't see any sort of issues. I'll double check now and just make sure there aren't any injury concerns with Alisson. But as far as I know, he should be good to go. So I think you'll be all right there, mate. Okay, so he does have that small flag of 75% knock, but they think he'll be fine for this weekend. So I think you just risk putting him in your lineup. And then if you've got a backup, at least you've got a second string keeper to come in and replace him. And as for Dalot, United obviously have a lot of injuries in that defence. There's plenty of players missing for them, but he's one of them that now isn't flagged. He looks ready to go. So Dalot, I think you'll be fine with him as well. So definitely play both of those if they're in your team, mate. Let's go through Aston Villa versus Newcastle quickly, and then we'll take the next couple of questions that have come in. So this is the early game, and it's a tricky one because we all own Trippier. A lot of us own Trippier. So you're going to want to play him. It's a player that you just don't drop, especially because Newcastle have been so good. But Villa are showing some really good form under Emery. So you also want to play the likes of, probably Tyrone Mings, who can always pop up with a goal every now and then from a set piece. He's been on form. And Ollie Watkins as well. So you're probably just going to start these players this week. Both of these sides of the players, you don't want to move them on because they do play in game week 32. And I do think both teams will score. Villa games have tended to have a lot of goals at home. This could be similar to when Arsenal went to Villa Park and it ended up 4-2. I think this could be potentially a sort of 2-1, 2-2 type of game. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say keep Ollie Watkins, keep Kieran Trippier. And if you've got no other defensive options, then I'd say play Tyrone Mings as well. Like I said, keep getting your comments in. Subscribe if you're new here. Like the video and get all your questions in ready for the deadline, which is in 40 minutes. Because I'm just going to go through the questions as we go through the podcast tonight. So this is Wrestling Film has asked, he's so indecisive over Rashford. He could take a hit to bring in Mahrez or Grealish, or Joe Linton. See, Joe Linton's a really interesting pick because he's in that position now at Newcastle where he's getting in shooting positions, goal scoring positions, really low owned. He's the sort of player that could come out and get a score, a big score in a game against Villa. It's always those players that you don't expect. And then in next week's blank game week, he plays against, obviously, the team I support, Spurs. We're not great at the back. So that could be a nice little pick, mate. But your obvious answer there as well. Or do you start Saka, Billing, Matoma, and Martinelli? You know what? If they're your options to start, you start that midfield. Or you start Saka, you start Matoma, Martinelli, Billing. Again, he does pop up with goals in big games. I can't really vouch for this Spurs defence at the moment. So, I don't think it's too bad. The problem with the Mahrez and the Grealish this week is there could be some rotation in that City team, and City don't play next week. So I think you stick with what you got for now. And you've mentioned you've changed Chilwell to Trent on the free, which I think is a good move. Trent plays next week. I'm assuming you're planning for double game week, so I like that move, mate. Welcome to the stream, Christian. Thanks, mate. Hope archery goes well, and let's hope you get plenty of FPL points, mate, when you're out doing that. So all the best to you, mate. Ricardo's asked a question just about my plans from now onwards, so I'll go through that one in a second. Let's preview this Chelsea versus Brighton game first, and I was quite passionate about this on my team selection stream. So if you want to see my team selection, you can always watch that. I've got a separate video for that as well. And I was passionate about this, and I was saying you play your Brighton players this week because Chelsea didn't score in their last home game against Aston Villa. They lost 2-0. Didn't score at Wolves, lost 1-0. Obviously, they lost to Real Madrid, who are a top side, but still didn't score. And I was looking at it and I was thinking, you know what? Solly, March, Matoma, they were very unlucky against Spurs last week. March obviously got returns. Matoma was unlucky not to with the offside goal and, the penalty that he should have had. And I just think you've got to play those players this week. Play your Brighton players this week. You can't not play them, really. And if you've got Luke Shaw, you play him and you put Estupiñán as the first sub, in my opinion. So if Shaw doesn't play, Estupiñán does, because Chelsea don't score many goals, like I just said. So, Brighton, you've got to play them. I know you're probably looking at moving them on next week because they do blank, but give them at least this week because, not liking Chelsea at the moment. They've obviously just brought Lampard back in. And, for me, I'm going to back Brighton to win this game. I think it will be 2-1 to Brighton, maybe even 2-0. And you've got to back those Brighton attacking players. So good luck to those managers that still own those players and have decided to keep them. I'm one of them as well, which leads me on to Ricardo's question of what are my plans from now onwards. So with my team, I've got free hit and I've got a wild card. My plan this week was initially to take Luke Shaw out and bring a player in from the game we're about to preview, Everton-Fulham. And I was going to bring in Tarkowski for 4.2 million, which a lot of people probably would raise their eyebrows at it, but he's cheap. Fulham home's a reasonable fixture for Everton. They could grind out a 1-0. And then he also plays in game week 32. But now we've got the news that Shaw might be fit. The plan is just to roll the transfer this week, keep the two under my sleeve, keep the two transfers because you don't know what injuries, you don't know what things are going to happen in the next sort of 6 or 7 days leading up to next week. So I've decided with that Luke Shaw potential news that he might play left centre back to roll that transfer because with the players I'm aiming to get, I'm looking at either Salah and Jesus next week with my what will be 2 free transfers. Then I'll need to use a third and -4 next week. And if prices rise in that time, I might need to then, put in someone that's cheaper than Tarkowski. So, I'm going to roll this week, mate. Wild card I'm looking at in game week 33. I want to try and plan my wild card so I can have it for game week 33, game week 35, 36, 37, which will be a double game week, and obviously the last day of the season. Navigate transfers are around then. And then I want a free hit in game week 34 because I want to maximize a free hit by getting in my 3 City players. I want to get in a couple of Liverpool players, a Man United treble up. So that's my plans, mate. So, thanks for the question. And that's how I'm aiming to play it. I'm not looking at the free hit in 32 like yourself, just because I'm aiming to have at least 10 to 11 players on the pitch. And I'm pretty comfortable with the players that I'm going to have. So let's go on to Everton Fulham. Thanks for the comments that have just come in. Welcome to the stream, Football Ferreira. Appreciate all your support. Really appreciate it, mate. And if you can, please just smash the like, as Football Ferreira says. Subscribe if you're new here. If this is the first time you're tuning into one of my streams, please subscribe. Get all your questions into. I want to help as much as I can for the deadline. So Everton Fulham, like I said, this is a game that people probably aren't really aiming for game week 31. They're not really thinking about it. We're not looking at Fulham players right now. I know they double in game week 34, but they've got a tough double. They're not really a team we're targeting. Everton, like I said before, I think you can target Tarkowski because he plays in game week 32. He's cheap. He gives you that money and flexibility to be able to use your money elsewhere. So I actually don't think he's the worst option. I know he's let a lot of us down before, but for 4.2 million, you're going to get someone that starts in the next 2 game weeks. And he's got Palace next week as well. So for me, that's probably all I'd look at in that Everton team right now. But I do think they'll win the game 1-0. 1-1 at a push, but I'll go 1-0 Everton. So let's go to Southampton Palace. This is actually a really big game for FPL at the moment because Palace have won their last 2 games under Hodgson, smashed Leeds 5-1 last week. And there's some players in there now. There's some value in that Palace team. Mark Gahey in defence for me at 4.4 million. Plays in game week 31. Plays in game week 32. Game week 33, they play against Wolves. So there's some potential there if you want a cheap defender. The same as Tyreek Mitchell. Elise, who I did a short on, so go and check the shorts out. I spoke about him, very low owned. So I'll talk about him more when I bring up my differentials. He looks really good as well. And I think Palace might come out and win this one. Southampton are struggling. So I'm going to go with a 2-0 to Crystal Palace. We'll move on to my team, Spurs against Bournemouth. We all wait for the screen to come back. It's decided. There we go. It's back now. A little bit of a Wi-Fi issue. I've got some bad weather where I am at the moment. So let me just try and get the Wi-Fi down again. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can get it working a bit better. There we go. It is back. All right. So Spurs, Bournemouth. Yeah, what can I say? Like with Tottenham, I think we'll win. I think we'll win this game. I know we got lucky against Brighton last week. But I think from an FPL perspective, you're safe as usual with Harry Kane. I read a stat earlier. He's won Spurs 22 points this season. So without Harry Kane, Spurs would probably be, I think, 3 or 4 points off the relegation zone. And that's how good Harry Kane is. People talk about, him not winning trophies. And that's really purely down to the mentality of the ownership and the club. Nothing to do with Harry Kane. He's what makes Spurs tick. So you're safe with Harry Kane. He will score in this game. I can almost guarantee he will score in this game. Loves to score against Bournemouth. Pedro Porro is another one to look out for. He's looked really good. Very attacking. 2 attacking returns in his last 5. 1 clean sheet in that time. So even if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, he gets attacking returns. If he does keep a clean sheet, he's going to get bonus points. So Pedro Porro. And I think Spurs will win. I think it'll be 2-0. I know Bournemouth are fighting for through the relegation. So there is a chance of someone like Billing maybe scoring a goal or Solanke. But I think Spurs will edge it by 2-1 and Harry Kane will score. So don't sell Harry Kane. And as we got here, it's a Harry Kane day. So I think we'll see at least a goal from Harry Kane in this, which is why I don't think if anyone's looking at bringing him out before this game, just don't do it. Loves goals in this fixture. And he is the reason. He'll be one of the only reasons Spurs even have a chance of winning this game. So Harry Kane, keep him in your teams. We had a question from WB that's come in, so I'll bring that up in a second once we preview the Forest versus Man United game. So I'll bring your question up, mate. And any of the new viewers that have come in, get your questions in, please. Not long until deadline now. We're about 30 minutes away. So, be sure to get those questions in. Let's go to Wolves-Brentford. This is another interesting game because no one's really got Wolves players. We don't look at putting Wolves players in our team. There's not anyone that we kind of like. Sarr's probably the only one you really look at from Wolves at the moment. Not anyone else. But Brentford, I've still got Ben Mee, so I'm going to play him in this, hoping he finally gets me a clean sheet return. Ivan Toney's another one. You're going to want to play him in this, and you really don't want him getting a yellow card because if Ivan Toney gets a yellow card in this game, he misses blank game week 32, which is just going to be a transfer headache for those teams that own him, those managers that own him, and those managers that don't have a free hit. So, yeah, this week, play him, though. For me, you play David Raya, you play Ben Mee, you play Toney. This could be a good game for Toney as well. He did get 2 goals here last season. So, yeah, definitely play those Brentford players this week. And they play in game week 32, so don't look to transfer them out just yet. Let's go to Man City, Leicester. City are on a 10 home game winning streak. Absolutely, dismantled Bayern Munich in the week. It was just absolute ease. So, yeah, City players, I've said this before, we'll go through captain soon. But if you don't own Haaland and you can get to him for a -4, you get to him for a -4. You have to bring him in this game. Leicester, I know they've just hired Dean Smith, but defensively, a mess. They're in the relegation zone for a reason. City will win this comfortably, in my opinion. I'm going to go with a 5-0 City. I think Haaland will get his 5th hat-trick at home, and he'll probably get it by 60 minutes. He'll get subbed off. It's like clockwork. We've seen it plenty of times. So for me, Haaland has to be in your team. If you brought Grealish in, good move. You just got to hope he does definitely start, but I think he will with the form he's on. They want to keep, they probably want to keep the form up for these guys, get more minutes into Grealish as well. So he'll be a good move. It wouldn't put it past me if he gets a double-digit score. I'm very worried about not owning him. And then Mahrez, he did get rested in the Champions League. So, there's always that potential that he will play in this game, which is against his old club. And when players play against their old clubs, they tend to find ways to get points and score goals. So Mahrez, Grealish, really good options, along with Haaland and John Stones as well. He's not the worst option to look at because he's dropping into this midfield position now too. Carries the ball really well. So Stones, Mahrez, Grealish, and obviously Haaland. They're the players I'll be looking at. If you still own De Bruyne, you can, you got to play him. Don't move him on this week. So for me, City will win this comfortably. We've got West Ham, Arsenal, but before we do that, we had the question from WB, but I'm going to go on to that when we go through Forest, Man United. And we've got this question here, and we've got this question that's coming as well. So I'll go through that one when we cover the Man United game. Let's do West Ham, Arsenal. Arsenal players, you keep this week, play them. You've got Martinelli, Saka. If you can get Jesus in this week, you've got a spare striker spot. Get him in. They play game week 32. He's returned in his last couple of games. He's looking sharp. He's leading the line well for Arsenal. Good fixture against Southampton next week. Really good option to get Jesus in this week. Get him in a week early. Avoid any further price rises. I think if Arsenal score, he's going to return this week. Him, Martinelli and Saka. It's my favourite triple up from Arsenal right now. West Ham, not really anyone I'm aiming for right now. I know they double in game week 34. If you still got Zuma hanging around, you could always play him or put him as first sub if you've got Luke Shaw. But there's no one I'm really looking at. Fabianski, someone maybe for double game week 34, but this week, play your Arsenal players. Try and get that Martinelli, Saka, Jesus triple up, or Saka, Martinelli, Erdegaard's always a nice one. Ready for game week 32 against Southampton. So let's go into Nottingham Forest, Man United. This is a big game for FPL because plenty of topics to discuss in this fixture. And we'll start with this one. Man United obviously have an injury crisis defensively. Players injured everywhere. Varane, Martinez. Will Luke Shaw play? How long's Rashford going to be out for? There's so much going on with this Man United team right now. WB's asked, I fear Fernandes will play deep again. So would I transfer him to Elise, Mahrez, Grealish, or Martinelli? I've got a free hit 32 plan. It's interesting because making that transfer now, knowing you're free hitting 32, it's not the worst idea because you can then have Grealish or Mahrez pre-prepared for double game week 34. On the flip side, you bring Elise in, he's got a good fixture in game week 33 as well. But bringing Bruno Fernandes out, knowing you're free hitting next week as well, for Forest away, it's probably not something you want to do because without Rashford, they might need Fernandes more in attacking positions. He might be in and around the box more. We remember when we had the Bruno Fernandes season a couple of years ago, pre-Ronaldo, how good he was in FPL. And he has this knack of taking games, by the scruff of the neck when the big players are missing, and he does get more on the ball. So I wouldn't do it, because you also know if Man United get a pen, he's taking it, especially without Rashford. So I wouldn't do that this week, mate. I know you've got the free hit plan next week, but I'd give Fernandes one more week. And then even from there on, United double in game week 34. So you could get in a position where you might end up wanting to keep him, and seeing how his form looks after this. So, yeah, I'd play him in this Forest game. I've had a couple more questions that have come in as well. So let's bring this one up. Who would I transfer Rashford out for? All right, so I've got a few options. Some of them are on my differential picks for this week. The ones I like the most, I like Elise, I like Grealish, and I like Jack Harrison. And the reason I like Harrison and Elise slightly more than Grealish is if you're not using a free hit next week, they both play in game week 32. So Harrison plays against Liverpool side at home. Liverpool are letting goals in. Elise plays against Southampton. Palace turned a bit of a corner. So they're both good. And then Grealish has obviously been on that really good form. Could be a minute's rest, though. That's the other thing. So for me, I think you transfer in one of those other two midfielders that do play in game week 32. If we look up here at maybe a few of the other sides, is there anyone else that you'd be kind of keen on from these other teams? Probably not. I think you'd be quite sort of safe with someone like Elise. That's just my thoughts, though. So, yeah, good luck. If anyone else has also got any other questions, or you've just tuned into the stream, please get your questions in now. Like this video with 22 minutes until deadline. So I want everyone to get as many deadline questions in now as possible, and I am answering them all. And please subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you're just coming in for the first time, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. All the support is really appreciated. I'll quickly give my score review. I think Man United will beat Forest by 2-0 despite all of these injuries in defence. And I'll quickly cover Leeds versus Liverpool, because I've got a question from PSB and I've got a question from EK that I do want to cover. So I'll quickly do Leeds Liverpool. Like I mentioned before, Jack Harrison, someone I really like for this. Home game, you get a game against Fulham out of him in game week 32. So I'll be aiming for him as one of the Rashford replacements. What do I think the score is going to be in this? I actually think Leeds, despite them getting absolutely hammered 5-1 last week, I think they might get something out of this. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw, a Jack Harrison return, and maybe even a Mo Salah return. So that's my thoughts for all of this week's fixtures. You can see them all there. That's a Monday night game in the UK, by the way. Early game, Aston Villa versus Newcastle. So always a really big game week when you've got that early game. Beware of the early deadline, as they say. So let's go through all these other questions that have now come in. So I'll go through PSB's first. I'm good, mate. I hope you're good. All ready for deadline in 20 minutes' time. I've rolled over my transfer this week. I did see on Twitter, mate, that you've gone without Haaland. So, yeah, good luck to you, mate. What do I think about Mahrez? I think with Pep, you never know what he's going to do. We've seen Guardiola drop Mahrez in the Champions League, then drop him in the league, then drop him in the Champions League again, then drop him in the league again, then play him from out of nowhere. So you can never trust Pep. But if you get the feeling that he will play, I think if Mahrez starts, he scores in this game. I predicted 5-0 to City, and I think there's going to be a Haaland hat-trick minimum if they win 5-0. And I think Mahrez starting in this game, you could see a couple of goals or a goal and an assist. He just has that knack. And he's done it against Leicester before. So I like the transfer, mate. But again, you can never read Pep. But yeah, I like it. EK has asked, Shaw, Estupiñán, or Henry? That's a really tough one, because Shaw, we don't know if he's going to start. If he does, he's left centre back, which is okay. We've seen him get a lot of bonus points playing in that position before. Forest haven't been great over the last 7-8 game weeks. Then you've got Estupiñán, Chelsea again, barely scoring a goal. And then you've got Henry at Brentford. Wolves, never been the biggest scorers, but they've started to find their way over the last month or so. For me, the way you've got to look at it is this. If Luke Shaw was 100% fully fit, he hadn't had this injury problem, and you knew he was now to play, you'd probably be putting him as your number one pick this week. Then you'd be going probably Henry based on fixture, even though Chelsea aren't great, and then Estupiñán. So for me, play Luke Shaw, and then you pick either one of Estupiñán or Henry as your next sub, because Shaw is still he's 50-50. According to Ten Hag's comments, there's a chance that he might play. I'll go through the other comments. We've had some really good questions that have come in, so I want to go through them in a second. I do want to give my quick thoughts on captains. So for me, number 2 captain's Harry Kane. I mentioned he's just scores for fun. I think he's almost guaranteed a goal in this game against Bournemouth. So for me, he's number 2. Haaland's number 1. I wouldn't be looking at anyone else but Haaland if Haaland's in your team. This Leicester team are just awful at defending. There's a reason they're in that bottom 3. And obviously Brendan Rodgers lost his job. So for me, Haaland's number 1. And then in terms of differential picks, Pedro Porro for Spurs, he's a really nice pick. 3 returns in his last 5, and 2 of them were attacking returns, which means if he keeps a clean sheet against Bournemouth this week with an attacking return, then there's a high chance he gets big points this week. So I like Pedro Porro, differential, very low owned, 1% owned. It probably would have gone up in this last few minutes of deadline. Elise, I think he's sitting at about 2.8, 2.7% owned right now for Palace. Really big differential for this week, who I really like. And then I'll quickly pull up my third differential because I want to make sure I read out the differential that I picked earlier that I did post on Twitter. And I went with, I like Jack. I mentioned Jack Harrison earlier, but I also like John Stones at 2.4%, especially because he's dropping into this, advanced midfield kind of position. For a defender, if you're pushing into midfield, you're basically a goal threat. So I don't mind John Stones. But that's all my thoughts on captains and differentials. So let's go through all the questions that are coming in now. So if you are just tuning in, start getting the questions in. Load the comments with questions. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Let's get all the questions in and start answering them. Ready for deadline in just over 15 minutes. And Jermaine, welcome to the stream, mate. Great to have you in. And thanks for all the nice words. Would I consider Martial as a good choice? He had returns against Seville and Everton. Yes, I would, because Forest is a team to target right now. You want to target Forest. They're not winning games. They're not getting points. Cooper's under pressure at Forest at the moment. They're trying to survive. So I'd say yes, he is. But you got to remember, mate, if you bring Martial in this week, he doesn't play next week. So right now, I think he's a good 1 week punt for me. Or if Rashford's still injured by game week 34, you might then get a double game week out of Martial. So I think for me, Martial is definitely a good 1 week punt, especially if you're free hitting next week or you're wildcarding in game week 33. And because Rashford will come back. And once Rashford comes back, I think Martial then sort of gets his minutes limited a bit more. But for a 1 weeker, Martial is a really good pick, I think, because Man United, they can attack. Forest, really poor form. Welcome to the stream, mate. Great to have you in. Everyone go check out CF Edits if you haven't done already. So go and check his channel out and subscribe. Best defender to buy this game week. I've got Shaw, Chilwell, Trippier, me, and Estupiñán. I wouldn't buy anyone, mate, if you've got that defense. I've got that exact defense, except I've got someone else instead of Chilwell. I've got Shaw, I've got me, I've got Harry Souttar. I don't know why I got Harry Souttar. And I was looking at it, and you know what? Like, if you're going to bring someone in and you're not free hitting in 32, you're going to want to bring in a defender that plays in game week 32. So Tarkowski at home to Fulham today is actually a really good budget option at 4.2 million. So I don't mind him. And Pedro Porro at home to Bournemouth as well. He's a good swap for a Chilwell or a Luke Shaw if that's who you're planning to get rid of, or an Estupiñán. So there's obviously that option. I guess looking at your team there, 3 of those don't play next week, so you might need to make that move. For me, Porro, Tarkowski, they're a couple of nice options, mate. But I also think you can hold off a week and use that defense that you've got there. Anytime, mate. Anytime. A question from Jermaine, Who to captain? Kane, Salah, or Martinelli? No Haaland, no free hit 32. Haaland coming back in game week 33 onwards. What I will ask you, mate, do you have the option to take a -4, bring Haaland in, and take someone else out? Because I would say if you can do it on a -4, bring Haaland in and captain him, because I don't think you'll regret it. If you can't, and it's going to cost you a -8, -12, then for me, it's got to be Kane. It's got to be Kane, because there's a high chance he gets at least a goal. When he scores, he gets a 3 bonus more often than not. And he's due one of those doubles as well. He could come close to Haaland this week. So, yeah, if you don't have those options, then, yeah, Harry Kane for me. Probably Salah in second, and then Martinelli. If you can do Haaland for a -4, mate, I'd look at doing it, just because that Leicester fixture. And that's so true. Harry Kane's end of the season is always very, very good, as is Son's. But we're not really jumping to Son this season, like we did last year. So, yeah, it's very true. Very, very true. Another question that's come in: is Bruno to Salah worth considering? Not in this game week, but maybe for the double and long term. It could be. I think I was saying earlier, we had a question about Bruno. Give him this week, like you've mentioned there. See how he looks in probably 33 against Spurs. And if he's not looking good, if he's not getting shots on goal, if he's not getting pens, that direct swap for De Bruyne or Salah for game week 34, I think it's a good shout, mate. But at the same time, when you get to a double game week and you've got Bruno Fernandes in there against Aston Villa and Brighton, do you really want to be getting rid of him? So it's a tough one. I think, to answer your question, yes, it's worth considering. But I don't think it's something you need to set in stone right now. So, yeah, one to watch out on, mate. Question from Luca. Welcome to the stream, mate. Bench one of Mudryk, Fofana, and Andreas Pereira. Okay, so you've got Pereira playing away at Everton, somewhere that he could return. Pereira always seems to pop up in these fixtures and finds a way to score goals. Fofana at home to Brighton. I think they'll concede. And then Mudryk. Let's have a quick look at Mudryk's minutes lately, because that's going to probably be what determines the decision between Fofana and Mudryk for me. So let's have a look at Mudryk's minutes. So we've got 22 minutes against Wolves. Yeah, he's not been getting the games. That's tough. So I'd play Pereira. I'd play Fofana in the hope that Chelsea can keep it tight and get a clean sheet. And I'd probably bench Mudryk. I'd normally say always back the midfielders, the strikers, the attacking players. I just don't think you can back Mudryk, who, he's probably only going to get 10, 20 minutes. So, yeah, that's what I'd do, mate. But it's tough. It's tough because Fofana and Mudryk and Chelsea players right now, they're not ideal for FPL. A question from Jack. Welcome to the stream. Eze or Matoma for this week? That's a good question. Are they both in your team? I think if they're both in your squad and you've got to pick a player to start, I'd probably say I've got Matoma. He's so consistent. Eze's probably got the fixture and he got a good score last week, but I'd still say Matoma. I've said it plenty of times. Chelsea aren't looking good. They're conceding goals. You've probably got to back Matoma. Look how many returns he's got in the last 10 weeks. And I said it earlier, he was very lucky against, obviously, a team I support, Spurs. He was lucky. Spurs were lucky. He was unlucky. He should have had a penalty. And he had a goal disallowed. So I'd say Matoma edges it. But Eze isn't a bad pick. But, yeah, he edges it. And please continue to get your questions in as well, because we're 10 minutes from deadline. So I want to get as many questions in this last 10 minutes before deadline. I'm going to just quickly make sure my team is all locked in as well. I've got a couple more questions that have come in, so thanks for that. And I just want to make sure my team is locked in. And I'll read you all out my lineup as well. So let's just make sure that team is locked in. So this is my lineup for this week. So I'll read it to everyone. I've gone with Kepa in goal, who might not necessarily start. I've got Trippier, Ben Mee, and Luke Shaw. Again, Luke Shaw's 50-50 to play. I've gone with March and Matoma. Maddison, I'm not really certain he'll return, but you just never know. When someone's a set-piece taker, you never know. Did get 16 points at Man City last year. Leicester lost the game 6-3. Saka, and then a front three are Watkins in the early kickoff. Haaland with the captain's armband and Harry Kane. So I've got a 3-4-3. Bench a Neto, so Neto can come in if Kepa doesn't play. Estupinan, Harry Souttar, still don't know what he's doing in my squad. And Rashford, I didn't transfer out. I am rolling the transfer for this week. So there is my team on screen, as you can see, ready for this week. Let's go through the rest of the questions that have come in. Luca, Mudryk hasn't been getting many minutes. However, if Fofana will be rested due to the coming second leg against Real. Well, yeah, I guess there's that as well. I think if you play Fofana, though, and he is rested, I can't imagine he comes on. The only reason he might come on is obviously if there's an injury or if you are winning the game and, you want to see the game out. But either way, if that's the case, you're probably only going to get 1 point off him and Mudryk either way. So, yeah, it's a tough one, mate. And, yeah, exactly. You're a Chelsea fan, mate. So you've got to pick. This is the other thing about FPL. You've got to play for fun. And if you support, you support Chelsea and that's your team, you want to watch. You want to pick players from the team you support as well. So yeah, mate, that makes sense. This is Wrestling Film. One more headache to solve. Would you take a hit now to transfer out De Gea or Steele for Pickford? Good game this week and plays next week. It's tough because De Gea and Steele don't play next week, like you mentioned. But De Gea and Steele have got double game weeks in game week 34. So yeah, I wouldn't do it. I'd play De Gea this week. Fixture's too good, mate. Fixture's too good. I know Everton have got a good fixture, but I wouldn't do it on a hit. I'd play De Gea, and then if you've got to take the hit next week for a keeper, or you could play with 10 men next week and just keep them. I don't always find, you don't always need a playing goalkeeper. If you can play with 10 men next week, that's fine. I just wouldn't do it for a hit, mate. I just think De Gea's fixture at Forest is too good. And you'd be kicking yourself as a Man United fan if De Gea gets 10, 11 points and, you've only gone and sold him on a hit. Start Elise or Matoma. Very similar to the Eze or Matoma question. And I'm going to say, again, Matoma. Too many returns in the last 2 months. Chelsea aren't playing well. Brighton attack every game. And, yeah, Matoma was very hard done by last week. I think he's going to come out and score this week. Jermaine just saying he tried to get Haaland in, but it would mean sacrificing Salah or Kane, and they play in 32. I just hope Haaland doesn't go too big. It will be nice. Okay, that's fair, mate. I think in your situation, you've got to look at it like those managers that own Haaland own Kane as well, probably, but they don't own Salah. So you're probably going to want to hope Salah and if you captain Kane, that together can match what Haaland does. And then you should be okay. So good luck. Good luck, mate. Ooh, Zinchenko for me. I really like Botman. This Newcastle team's brilliant. Good defence. Early kickoffs do have that tendency to, sometimes a 0-0, 1-0, but I think I predicted a 1-1 in this, and I think Villa will score. They're attacking at the moment. Emery's got them attacking. Arsenal won at the London Stadium last season. And it's you can see Arsenal winning that game 1-0. You can see them just grinding it 1-0. I'd probably say Zinchenko edges it, mate. Good question here. Maddison to Salah and bench Mitoma. I'd play Mitoma and I'd bench Maddison. If that's the choice, play Mitoma, bench Maddison. That's what I would do. Save that transfer, mate. I'm vouching a lot for Mitoma in tonight's stream, but he's just brilliant. And I just think he was so hard done by last week with the disallowed goal against my team and the penalty that he should have had. And I think he scores. So we're 5 minutes until deadline. I'm just going to see now if my guest. I was supposed to have a couple of guests tonight, but they've not come on tonight. It doesn't look like he's going to make it on, so that's a shame. But just me for now. We're 5 minutes until deadline. I'll stay on all the way till deadline. I want to answer as many questions as I can until deadline. So here we go. Am I locked? Yeah, I am, mate. I'm all locked in. So, yeah, this is me right now on the screen. I'm locked in. So I'm ready to go. I'm rolling the transfer. If Luke Shaw didn't have the injury cloud, I probably would have just taken him out and bring in Tarkovsky just for someone cheap and cheerful for this week. But because Shaw's 50-50 to play, I'm going to play him and then just hope SG Penang, if he doesn't play, SG Penang can just come off my bench for Brighton. And then I think I just wanted to get those 2 transfers for next week because, you know, a lot can change in a week in FPL. We've seen that in the last week with injuries to Marcus Rashford as an example, and it just changes the whole dynamic. So this is a game week where I'm hoping Haaland's probably going to just carry me. And then next week, I get those 2 transfers, which then means I can take a -4 and get 3 transfers. So, yeah, that's how I'm doing it this week. But yeah, we're 3 minutes till deadline, everyone. 3 minutes till deadline. So please get your last-minute questions in now. Make sure you've got your teams locked in. Make sure you've got your captains locked in. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Like this video. If I can get as many likes as possible, it's really, really appreciated. It really helps the channel as well, all of the support. So yeah, let's and keep these comments coming in. Absolutely love all these comments, especially with 3 minutes till deadline. And mate, thanks. I really appreciate the encouragement there. No Salah, no Kane, no Haaland, no Grealish. Wow. Okay, so you've got a lot of threats not in your team. On the flip side, you've probably got a lot of differentials in your team. Mate, fingers crossed to you. Hopefully it's a week where, you know, at least maybe only one of them hits. I think we'll see returns from Kane and Haaland. Grealish and Salah, you never know. But Kane and Haaland, yes. But yeah, good luck, mate. I hope you do well for this game week. And see if Edits has come in. He's made the transfer. He's going to chill out to Ream. Very interesting pick with Ream. Ream's one of those. He's tends to get these big isolated double-digit scores. Doubles in game week 34. Plays next week at home to Leeds. Gives you a little bit of change as well. So yeah, definitely not the worst move, mate. And Harry Kane captain, Tony Weiss. I like that, mate. I've got to back my man, Harry Kane. Yeah, I think he scores this week. And like I said, if you don't captain Haaland or you don't have Haaland, your next best bet for me is Harry Kane. Record against Bournemouth's ridiculous. Wins points on his own for Spurs. And even with a goal, he gets bonus points. So, yeah, I like that move. I really like that move. So we're 2 minutes till deadline. So be sure to get your teams locked in. Don't miss out on that. We are getting now... All right, we got less than 60 seconds. 50 seconds, the countdown's on. So if you're on the app now and you're about to press captain or you're about to press confirm transfer, get your question in now because you've got 40 seconds. Appreciate it, mate. Thanks for joining the stream. So we're getting towards it now. 30 seconds until deadline. No questions have come in, so I'm assuming everyone's locked in. Let me know what you've locked in. Let me know what transfer you made in the comments. Let me know if you've made a transfer based on this stream. Let me know if you've made a captain pick based on this stream. Yeah, let me know in the comments now. We're about to get to deadline. To be honest, one thing I need to do is actually check Twitter and make sure there's no team news that comes up before deadline. Which it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. There we go. It's deadline. Game week 31 deadline is here. Cheers, mate. Yeah, it's I want to try and get a little clock in the corner so I can do a final 60 seconds. Or I've seen if obviously there's other streamers that do really good deadline streams and they do like their 5-minute clock to count down and that type of stuff. So I'm looking to do something like that. If I can implement it this season, then hopefully, otherwise definitely next season. And yeah, good luck to everyone as well. Thanks to everyone that's joined in tonight. There's a few new faces, so it's really good to see. So I hope you've subscribed. Looking forward to seeing you all in the next one. I might stay in for a couple more minutes. So if there's any questions, if anyone's got any questions about blank game week 32, double game week 34, game week 33, up and coming game weeks,
any sort of questions post deadline now for your team, get them all in now in the comments over the next couple of minutes. I'll stay on for a few more minutes. Crazy Pizza in the stream. Hope you're good, mate. I'm doing well. The FPL deadline's just passed, so we can all relax for a little bit. We've got the first game on, which is Aston Villa versus Newcastle. So that starts in an hour and a half. So, can't wait for that. What do I think about Sheffield United coming back in the Premier League? I think it's brilliant. Obviously, historic club, old football club, good stadium, really good fans. I think it's great to have them back in the Premier League. I'd also like Sheffield Wednesday back in the Premier League at some point as well. I'd like to see both of them in there. Like, I'm a big fan of seeing traditional derby games in English football, and I want to see Sheffield United versus Sheffield Wednesday. I want to see Birmingham Villa. I want to see all these derbies in the Premier League. Bora TV, welcome to the stream, mate. Good to see you. Hope you've been well. What do I think about Bradford Football Club? I remember all those years ago when they were in the Premier League, and I'm a Spurs fan, and I remember Ledley King at the time getting the quickest goal in Premier League history at that time against them. And I remember going to White Hart Lane as a kid, and they beat us 1-0. So I've not got as fond memories of Bradford based on that. So I'm assuming you support someone around that, in that Yorkshire area of Bradford or Sheffield United. Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds, someone around that area, Huddersfield maybe. Bradford, I remember them a long time ago. And they had a good League Cup run. I think they got to the final early 2012-11 time and lost to Swansea. So, look, I've got no sort of thoughts on Bradford. I guess being a Spurs fan, it's not geographically, really, it's not really someone that gets to, sort of bothers Spurs as much. But Bradford, thanks, mate. It's been a good season so far. So obviously I started the season sort of that mid-range, 100 to 150 sort of subs, and we're starting to grow, and the channel's growing, and they're doing the content. But like I said, all these new faces that come in every week, people that watch the deadline streams, that watch the team selections, that watch the wildcard videos, that watch the shorts, all the support's appreciated. So if you're new and you just can hit the subscribe or like the video, or even once this stream's done, if you can go back and like and comment on some of the shorts I've done and videos, let me know what you think, any feedback and things like that. So I absolutely love all the people that come on the channel that want to talk about FPL, but they also ask other football questions. And I love the people that are from all the different countries. Because obviously, obviously we grew up in England but live in Australia now. So with the time zone, I end up with people from all around the world on it. You know what? I don't, mate. I actually don't. You'll have to tell me what year that one was. Might have been, if I go on Google, it might have been before my time. Let's have a look. Draw with, let's have a look. And I've normally got a good memory for Spurs games. We did play Rochdale in an FA Cup game a few years back, but we won that one. Oh, there we go. Rochdale 2, Spurs 2. It was in 2018. Oh, yeah, the Wembley game. So it was the away one. Then we played you at Wembley. Yeah, I do remember that. And I remember the home game. I think there was some controversy with, maybe VAR or something, or not having VAR in the comp at the time. I can't remember, but I do remember it. How do I feel about Kane possibly wearing a Man United jersey next season, mate? Do you think he'll do it? It's such a tough one. Like, I think for his career, now he's got to a point where he needs to leave Spurs. Not because if Spurs make the Champions League, he might stick around for another year and then leave on a free. And when he's up for free, that's where even teams that have, like Man City, who have got Haaland, that's where teams like City can just take him for free and just integrate him into their team, right? Whereas if someone signs him this summer, they need to pay a fee. Man United need a forward. It could be a Van Persie signing for Man United. I still don't think United are quite there yet, though, with a title challenge. We've seen a few cracks over the last couple of months, but Harry Kane could be that a bit like that Van Persie sort of signing for United. I don't want to see it. I'd prefer him leave for free a year after and just do one more year in the hope that Spurs can somehow like scrounge a League Cup or something. If it's Man United, it's Man United. I've seen Berbatov go there from Spurs. I've seen Carrick do it. It is Harry Kane, so it's going to be a lot harder to see. But I don't think many Spurs fans will begrudge him the move. Like, he stuck around at Spurs a long time. We were lucky to keep him a couple of years ago. City didn't pay the money. I think they should have at the time. They didn't. So, yeah, we've done well to even get this amount of time from him. I think it will only happen if United want to pay the money. And it'll be a great signing for United. Like, he'll slot straight in. People talk about £100 million on he'll be a 30-year-old at the time. Kane doesn't rely on pace. We've seen plenty of players and good strikers now playing until they're 39, 40 years old. Kane still has at least 5 years in him, maybe more, depending on how he keeps his condition. And like, 100 million on Kane for United, even if you get 3 seasons out of him, the amount of goals he will score for Man United, it'll be worth the money. It'll be worth the money. That money will pay itself back over those seasons. People look at it, it's a lot of money for a guy this. Doesn't matter. Like, what's 100 million to Man United in 3 years' time if Kane joins and you win a Premier League and an FA Cup and, push on as a club? So, yeah, I'll probably cry when it happens, though. Who do I think will be the new manager, or who do I want? Mate, to be honest, like, I'm at a point now where Spurs have sacked so many managers that I'm kind of numb to it. I'd take Pochettino back. I'd obviously love Nagelsmann that Bayern Munich sacked. Luis Enrique, probably say between those three. I know there's a bit of talk of Vincent Kompany. It's exciting, but I'm quite wary of managers that have just done a season in the I know I think he managed in Belgium before, but teams that have just done a season in the Championship. We've seen it with Frank Lampard. We've seen it with Scott Parker, even Gerrard with Rangers. That's almost that level anyway. So, for me, I like Nagelsmann, Luis Enrique, and Pochettino. And welcome to the stream, Tiger and Guna. Great to see you in, mate. So that's the same as me, mate. So I grew up in the UK. I went to Perth. My family are all there now. Now I'm in Melbourne. I'll probably be back in Perth one day. I end up coming to Melbourne just for something different. Really like it over here. I'll probably end up back in Perth one day with the missus. So, love it over there, mate. What do I think about Harry Kane? We just spoke about the United stuff. Although you don't think Harry Kane's good, you think he's too slow. And he's not good, he's too slow. Yeah, no, fair enough. Not everyone's going to like every player. I think Harry Kane, though, has just got so much to his game that I think I'm not sure if you're a Man United fan, but if you're a Man United fan and you're not sure on Kane for things like, he might be too slow. He's got so much to his game. Trust me, if he joins Man United and United make another 1 or 2 really good signings, and United are creating a lot of chances this season that they're not putting away. We saw that against Seville. Kane's just going to score goals for fun there. But yeah. Who has been your best player for Spurs or in the whole season? If it's for Spurs, Harry Kane. Like, I think I said it earlier on in the stream, 22 points he's won Spurs this season. So Harry Kane for sure. If it's over the whole season, it's going to be hard to just say anyone else but Haaland, just because of the volume of goals. He's going to end up with a ridiculous amount of goals. Outside of that, I think obviously they're a rival of Spurs, but I've got to say I've liked Martinelli at Arsenal this season. I think he's been really dangerous. He's been really good. And Ben White as well. I think he's had a really good season, a very underrated season. Yeah, Mbappe would be unreal, but I think everyone would love Mbappe at their team. He is, he is phenomenal. But for Man United to sign someone like Mbappe, you're going to need £250 million and wages that even Man United aren't going to pay, in my opinion, like crazy money. Yeah, he's the dream, mate. And yeah, have a nice day as well, mate. Not sure if I've seen you on the channel before, mate. Or you might have been on a few streams. So if you are new, mate, if you can just hit subscribe. Yeah, great to have you in. And thanks everyone for all the questions. We did have one more here. Is it true or fake? He's heard a rumor on Facebook about Ronaldo going to Spurs. You know what? If Harry Kane does go, then Ronaldo for a season isn't the worst, replacement for a year. But yeah, I'm not sure if that's true. Look, we'll look to end the stream there. We've still got a few viewers that have tuned in. So if there's any questions you want to quickly get in before I wrap up the stream, the deadline's done. Another week of FPL is upon us. In the next week, there'll be UCL Champions League content. Again, we've got Champions League, second legs. There'll be some shorts, team selections, maybe a wild card or a free hit draft. It'll probably be a free hit draft because a lot of people are using their free hit next week. So be sure to be ready for that. I'm at FPL Matt Day. I'm also on Twitter, Instagram as well, so you can find me on there. We'll take this last question. What do I think about Neymar Jr. going to Chelsea? I think that'll be unreal if that happens for the Premier League. It would be great to see him play in the Premier League if he was to make that move. Do I think it will happen? I feel like he's someone that's just going to see his career out at PSG now. But if it was to happen, mate, I think it would be good for the league. It would be good for viewers of the league. But as I'm a Spurs fan, I wouldn't like to see him do well there. And Jermaine, good luck for the game week. I hope you do well, mate. And I'll see you next week. I'll see everyone over the coming week in all the streams and all the content. And good luck for game week 31. Thanks to everyone that tuned in. I'm at FPL Matt Day. Bye for now.